Okay, number one thing I gotta address today is these red deuce plants that need to be standing up a long time ago. So they're laying down right now. The suckers are getting out of control and it's time to get these guys cleaned up. So that's today's project. These are going to be set up a little differently than the previous tomatoes. These are a bush type. These are red deuce, if I didn't say that already. They're also a red slicing tomato, but these are a bush type variety, and I'm going to be using a unique system for these. This here is a unique Lancaster County Amish Country invention here. Hang that hook system from the purlin up there, and then we're going to be stringing these tomatoes up via that, hangs loose like that, and you make the system down the row, as you can see there. So going to be showing a couple steps here as I go. I got to add some purlins. I got some purlins to add up here in this house, and then we got to get these tomatoes suckered and get these up. So I'm going to do a couple steps here, show you what we're doing. Alrighty, this is my what's left of this pack of purlins here. They're called. These are about 3/4 inch, almost an inch diameter, 10-foot long purlins with the ends got the grooves on there to fit inside each other. Yeah, these greenhouses are amazing. Like outside today, it's probably 45 degrees, maybe almost 50 degrees. It's a little chilly, but inside my fans are running, so it's 80 degrees inside this greenhouse or above, because that's when my fans kick on, and the sun's not even shining today. So that's what's awesome about these greenhouses, is you can just maximize the UV rays even on a cloudy day like this, and just allow these houses to be warm inside here. You know, my heaters only kick on at 60, so I got 20 degrees just from the plastic being in here, and inside I was sweating, and out here I'd catch a cold if I stayed out very long. So that's one of the cool things about that. So anyway, I gotta shut my door here, keep all my heat in here if I can. Guess it wouldn't matter if the fans are going. I could let a little bit out, but I don't feel like going and shutting the door after that fan kicks off, so it'll take care of itself. But what I'm doing here, I'm gonna just show you what I'm doing with these purlins. Not a real complicated deal, but basically I got to put these purlins and screw them up on top of the cross beams. So I want these centered on these rows. See if I can do this without falling down with one arm. All right, so what I'm going to do here is, they slide inside each other. And these are 10 foot. So this is a roughly 195 foot house, but I figure about 180 foot of growing area. And so yeah, I can just connect them together, and then what I'll do is I'll put a bracket right on top here with 2 screws, and we'll tighten that thing down. And I got to put these all the way down to the end here, and then I'll show you what I'm doing after that. So you got these handy dandy hooks that I showed you earlier, and all we're going to do here is hook that right on top of there, and I'm going to space them. I think I decided to go every 3 plants. If I was at 2 foot, they recommend every other plant, but I'm a little closer than that, so I'm going to try to stretch on every 3. I'll see how that works. I don't know. These things are expensive, so I'm trying to stretch them a little bit, save myself a couple $100 if I can on these hooks. These are kind of a unique invention. They're not really on the market anywhere that I'm aware of. They're pretty new, only a year or 2 old invention here locally for this purpose. These are free swinging, and so what you're going to have to do on the end of the row is put a stake or something to give the whole row support, or else the whole row would swing and it wouldn't have any strength. But you give a solid structure on the end, and then tie all the, I'll show you later when we get the stringing, but we're going to loop the strings through them loops, starting at the bottom. The very bottom one there will get it first. I might, with these plants, I'll probably have to put 2 or 3 rows of strings on. Each 6 inches there, every 6 inches will get a string, each one of those loops. And on both sides of the plant, and that plant will stand up straight right down the row, all as one freestanding system there. And what's first time I've used these, but I love the concept. I'm curious to see how I like it after it's set up. But I think it's going to be nice in the sense that I'm not going to have to pound in 200 stakes or whatever, 300 stakes for this area. This is something I obviously can use for 10 years probably or more. So it's not like I'm going to lose my investment on it right away. Where stakes that, you know, I can use those. You're only supposed to use those 1 year inside a greenhouse, and then they got to be used for peppers or something else, or a lot of guys will burn them and get rid of them, get new stakes again. So there's a cost to that too. But yeah, I'll show you what this looks like once we get the stringing, and then after we're all done, how this system looks at the finish. But that's what we're doing here today. My plan is by the end of the day, have all these tomatoes suckered and standing up. That's the plan. I got a correction to make. I apologize. Earlier I had told you guys these are red deuce. I was not thinking right. These are actually my yellow tomatoes. This is the yellow slicing tomato. Very similar size tomato to a red deuce, but it is yellow, low acid tomato. I wanted to provide a little bit of variety to my production, and so I got half a house here, yellow ones. BHM 871s are the number for them. Pretty common tomato around here, very good yielder and so forth, but I wasn't thinking, and I do have red deuce as well, but most of these are the yellows. There might be a few red deuce on a couple rows here. I forget how I planted them exactly. I could look in the tags, but I'm not worried about that today. And in case you guys are wondering why there is flowers in here, that's an experiment here this year. I am not a flower grower. I am trying to learn a little bit. My wife would like to get into doing these down the road, so I don't tell her I said this, but I'm allowing her to put half a house of flowers in. She thinks this is a flower house, but in reality this is a tomato house. The flowers are just borrowing some space for some time here, but do not tell her I said that. I could get in trouble. But anyway, so next year the flowers will have their own house if things go well, because this is not an ideal setup to have flowers and tomatoes together. There's all kinds of problems with that. This is a brand new house, and so my problems are limited. But if this was an older house, you're dealing with thrip problems and you're dealing with a lot of issues. Inevitably, flowers are going to bring some bugs that the tomatoes they're going to jump down your tomatoes and are going to cause problems there. And so this is not an ideal setup. But these flowers are only going to be here another month. Hopefully another month or so they'll be out the door at the most. And as you see, there's some tomatoes coming underneath it, and later today I want to have the rest of these rows planted. And then as soon as these flowers are gone, this is going to become the tomato house that's supposed to be. So hopefully the flowers pay for themselves and we can learn and figure out how to grow them, because I am totally green at growing flowers. So far they seem to be looking pretty good, but I don't even, I mean, I am green on flowers. I know my stuff about produce, but flowers is new to me. So I'm just trying to do some learning there, that maybe to another year or two we can be pretty knowledgeable in them as well. But just in case you're wondering why we're doing that, it's just didn't want to devote a whole house to it and then fail on a whole house. If I was going to fail, I wanted to fail small. And so we're going to see how it goes with half a house. And but at the same time, my income for this house that I'm figuring on is coming from these tomatoes, and so I'm trying to get them going here. All right, so we're just about done here today with all these suckering. My wife and children helped me get these all done.
Sit in the wheelbarrow and watch it.
Seriously.
All right, we're having a hard time getting this clip, so hopefully this goes. I wanted to show here, we're almost finished today with the last 30 plants here, and then we gotta get strings up here. But I wanted to show here, almost all these are finished suckering, we gotta get them standing up. But these determinate varieties, all we're doing, finding that flower set, we're letting the top sucker alone. That's this big guy up top here, and then everything else is going to come off. And you guys can do this in your home gardens or any determinate type plant that you have. You know, all the common ones that are out there are going to be suckered this way. You're going to take all those suckers off of there, so it really cleans it up. And then this guy will get stood up straight, and this sucker and this and the main leader there will make the bush going up from there. So all those can be treated in that fashion. All right. So I'm just getting started putting the strings up here now. This is the first time I'm using this system, but I know that you need to have a post. In this case, I just found a piece of junk greenhouse posting that I had around here, but a wooden stake or a metal stake of some kind to give a nice solid end is going to be important for this system, because once you go down through, and you have it all tied up like we do over here on this one, I have 2 layers here, it gives it support. So without that end post, that can swing back and forth, but with that end post on there, that gives the whole row some strength. So I mean, you'll see as I'm kind of looping down through here, this is going to move a little bit, and ideally you would want to do this, these plants are big enough, you'd want to do this as small as plant as possible, just because they get in the way of work in here. So it's a little bit unhandy right now, but once I get 2 layers on here, later in the week I'll probably do a 3rd layer, and then from there on it'll be a lot easier. But at this point I'm just kind of keeping them out of the way until I come up the other side. But these are free hanging from the purlins up above, but once they're all connected and tied in with that end post, it's kind of becomes a solid fence. And I'm trying to do every 3rd. I had these at about 18 inches apart, and so I was told at 24 inches you'd want it every other plant. So I'm stretching to every 3rd, trying to save some money on these things. But we're going to see how that works. I don't know if it'll be too far apart or not. Guess I'll know that in a few weeks if that was a mistake, or if next year I got to do them closer. But so this is a little unhandy, and it's a little bit hard on your back at first when these are low. These plants are taking a little bit of abuse here today getting these hanging up, but that's why I want to get them hanging up here once so they can get taken off and go in the right direction, and then after that I'll almost be hands free on it, and it should go pretty well. So try to show you a video once we got this all finished up here today, but gonna have to spend a little bit of time working at this. These I don't know what you call these hanging things. I don't even know what the name of these things are, but they like to grab onto everything. I found out I definitely wouldn't pile these in a stack, because getting them apart is quite a challenge and quite frustrating actually. So